Hello, welcome to Annoyed Gamer. This is me, Marcus Beer, here to chat to you about shit that concerns me. As you can tell, I'm probably a little subdued this week because it's been a really tricky week in games. This time last week I was raving about a great week, and then obviously some things were breaking that caused a lot of consternation, especially in the games industry back in my homeland, back in the UK, and I'll touch on that a bit later. First thing I want to do though, obviously, is say hello to everybody who is on the East Coast, and hopefully they have, you've survived Hurricane Sandy, and your loved ones are safe and your houses are safe. And if not, well, you have my condolences and my thoughts. And if I could just remind everybody that if you want to donate to the Sandy Survivors Fund, you could do so via the Red Cross. So go ahead and do that. So next up, I've got something I want to talk about. This week, the games industry lost a rather promising writer by the name of Matt Hughes. He wasn't, a big deal guy. He wasn't, on GameTrailers or Giant Bomb or G4 or anything like that. He was a freelancer who, busted his ass, wrote about games, was actually a really, really good writer. Matt suffered from depression, and unfortunately he took his own life this week when I'm recording this on the Thursday, so technically last week. And I just want to take a second to talk to people about depression, because this is a very prevalent thing. It seems to be, especially in the games industry, and I'm not sure why. I mean, there are a lot of people I know and respect who've suffered from depression, and I'm going to open up here and I'm going to let you know that I've been through that exact same thing. About 4 years ago, I was in a very bad place, and I was not earning a lot of money, and it was causing friction, and worried about the rent check and everything else, and felt really quite alone. And being depressed, because I was diagnosed as depressed, is not a fun thing, and it's not something you can just shake off. I mean, you lose your appetite, you can't really talk to people, you just want to stay in bed all day and stay away from the world. And it's a really, really scary thing. You feel you can't talk to anybody. And things got to a head with me. I mean, I'm going to share with you right now that 4.5 years ago, I got in my car, in my garage, closed the garage door, turned the engine on, and just thought, fuck it. Now, fortunately, I mean, it didn't come, and nothing came of it. My girlfriend came and sorted my head out, which was good. But there are a lot of people who don't have that support structure. There are a lot of people out there who need that help. And if you are suffering from depression, especially in this current climate when jobs are hard to come by, healthcare is very expensive, reach out to somebody, talk to a friend, pick up a phone, call the Samaritans, call somebody, because talking to somebody makes a difference. I started going to see a psychiatrist, and I talked through my shit. And yeah, I mean, I still get depressed every now and again, but nowhere near as bad as I used to be. But nothing is worth taking your own life over. And Matt's loss to the games industry, because I've read some of his stuff, and he was a very, very good writer. And he was a huge loss to the gaming community, to games writers. And I think he had a very bright future in front of him. And I would hate for anybody to go down that route again. So yeah, if you feel there's nobody to talk to, just reach out to somebody on Twitter, reach out to me, reach out to friends, family, or even, like I said, the Samaritans or something. So okay, back to the main topic of the day. Yeah, as I was recording Annoyed Gamer last week, and I was talking about my love for Assassin's Creed, and I was going through the spoiler rant and all that fun stuff, there was a storm breaking in the UK. A guy named Robert Florence, who had a column for Eurogamer, he wrote a story about games industry and being way too cozy with PR people. And he called out a couple of people in it. And after a threat of a lawsuit from one of the people, his story was edited. Now, Robert was very upset because he stood by his story, as he should. So he stepped down from Eurogamer. It all kicked off, I think, with the GMAs in the UK, which is the Games Media Awards, which is basically media up for awards as voted for by PR people. Now, that's a really smart idea, isn't it? Yeah, bunch of PR people who have their goals, which is to make us, the media, write the pieces they want And then they get to reward the media with a fancy party and awards and cuddles and stuff. We do hang out a lot with PR people. I consider a couple of PR people good friends, more than colleagues, because we do hang out in a social environment. And yeah, we talk about games. We don't talk about their games. We talk about the shit we play and old school stuff. If you work for a big publication or a big outlet such as GameTrailers or GameSpot, IGN, etc., you don't get free stuff. When games are sent through for review, you get to play them and then they go into the library. Right back over there behind me, you can't even see it right now, is a huge GameTrailers library. That's where all the games go. So the guys here, they don't really get the free games to go and replay. When Microsoft gave out the Xboxes, the Xbox Slim a couple of years ago, the press conferences, all those major outlets, the journalists who were covering the press conference for them here in the US, those outlets are the ones who took the Xboxes and said, all right, we can't have you being influenced by Microsoft or by anybody else. And there are very strict rules in place. Basically, this Games Media Awards, Tryon decided to come up with a wacky PR stunt and ask journalists to tweet the hashtag for their game, Defiance. And they would then pick 3 journalists at random and give them a PS3. Now that's wrong. I'm sorry. I mean, on my Twitter account, I'm a freelancer. My Twitter account is my own views. And I hope that you would realize I have enough integrity that if I tweet about a game, it's because I like the game, because I give a shit about the game, because I'm not shilling for anybody. And the journalists who tweeted to win a PS3 should be ashamed of themselves because it was totally unprofessional. You weren't tweeting because that game sounded good. You were tweeting because some shill out of the UK wants you in turn to shill for them. That's bang out of order. And then there was another part of this. Robert Florence did some digging and came up with the name Lauren Wainwright. She writes for MCV, which is a trade publication in the UK. She also worked for Square Enix. Now this is the girl, of course, who has adorned her Twitter page with Lara Croft and has tweeted about it so many, dozens of times. This is the same woman who's been taking money from Square Enix to work as a marketing consultant freelance. And I'm not talking about a pittance of money here. The figure is pretty hefty. Miss Wainwright, of course, got upset when Robert Florence decided to out her and threaten libel. And in the UK, libel laws are asked backwards, way too strict. And therefore, the piece was edited. Now, I'm going to turn around and say to you, Miss Wainwright, you should be ashamed of yourself. You can't call yourself a games journalist. I left PR several years ago. And, in the last 18 months alone, I've been offered 5 PR gigs where it's like, oh, write us a PR plan, give us some PR advice, we'll pay you, you don't have to, we won't publicize it, it's fine. I've turned them all down, and for a pretty good amount of money. If you watch Invisible Walls, we had Hawken in a couple of months ago. I took myself out of the discussion on Hawken when we had Jason Hughes in. Why? Because I used to work with Jason Hughes. He's a good friend of mine. I stepped away from the conversation so that it could be all about the games, and I wasn't tossing any fluff pieces out. And that's the standards we need to have. Okay, that's the show for this week. Couple of things I want to throw out there. First of all, you see this? This is going. I am taking part in something called Movember, which is a charity event. I have to shave my face and then grow a nice big funny mustache throughout the month of November, which I'm going to do. And I am going to be sending out tweets and posting on my website with information on how you can sponsor me, because all the money goes to men's health research, such as combating testicular and prostate cancer. So if you value your balls, you need to sponsor me. I'll be back next week, maybe, if I can get out of this particular funk I'm in today. Till next week, follow me on Twitter, send me your questions. We'll talk this time next week. See you, bitches.
See this and other GT shows and game reviews on the GT Originals iOS app, available now on the App Store.